G'day everybody and welcome to my Aussie gardening kitchen. If it's your first time here, my name is Darren, but please call me Daz. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to take a leftover Sunday roast that we've had last night, and it's going to be a spicy noodle dish. Just taking 2-minute noodles, a couple of extra things, plus that roast, and believe me, it's going to be nice. Stick around and check it out. Thanks. Okay, so I've got my pan here heating up, and I've got myself some olive oil. Just put in a bit of olive oil, not too much. Okay, now that the pan and the oil are hot, I'll get the lamb in there. Like so. Get it moving around. I like to actually butterfly the lamb leg and lay it flat in a pan. And what I mean by butterflying is that I'll pretty much have a leg of lamb and I'll just cut it down the bone like this and then open it up like a book and lay it down flat in a baking pan with grain mustard and a whole bunch of other things added to it. We're just going to cut up the lamb into pieces, not really caring about the exact shape of it. It's not a gourmet meal here, it's just leftovers. So as you can see here, it's just roughly diced like this. Hey, if you call that a dice. So what I'm doing here is I'm just giving the lamb some colour to draw out some flavour and also to flavour the lamb by getting it nice and brown on the outside. And there's also a bit of fat on the lamb, so that's breaking down and going into the pan, and that's going to add flavour to the dish. I'll pop the onion in there. Popping in the sweet corn. With the cobs of sweet corn, all I do is just run down the side of the corn like that. Simple as that. Yes, I am doing this back to front because I've put the camera on the wrong side of the chopping board. Now I do have this on a high heat, so it's going along quite nicely, keeping everything fried and not boiling because there's heat under there. We'll get these potatoes in there. Give it all a good stir. Again, not really caring about having everything exactly the same size and shape. Now I'm not actually going to add salt because I'm going to add some of the flavouring from the 2-minute noodles, and the flavouring from the 2-minute noodles has got quite a bit of salt in it, so I will check this later, but I doubt that salt will go into this recipe. Just going to put some cracked black pepper onto my spoon. The reason I'm doing it like this is so I don't get the steam from the pot directly into the bottom of the pepper grinder. So for me, that's probably about a teaspoon and a half of cracked black pepper. I like to give the Tabasco a shake, and at this stage I'll put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 splashes. Stir that oh, excuse me. That's got a bit of kick to it when it heats up. Stir that in there, get that flavouring the meat and the vegetables. Now I've added Tabasco to this because I enjoy the heat, but you don't have to add Tabasco. This is quite fine without it. In fact, some of the kids don't like Tabasco sauce, so if they were eating it, I would make it without the Tabasco for them and then add the Tabasco later for myself. Now I'm just going to cover this with water, like so. Give it a stir, scraping the sides and the bottom, just making sure that nothing's sticking and burning, and I'm getting all that flavour off the bottom and sides of the pot. You'll notice that I haven't added the pumpkin, potato and carrot yet. Because it's so mushy, I'm going to leave it till a bit later because this will just disintegrate if I add it too early. Just popping the lid on, because putting the lid on will make it come to the boil faster. Okay, so that came to the boil quite quickly. Give it a stir, make sure it's not sticking. Perfectly fine. I'll break the packet in half and drop the packet in. Now I've put in 5 packets because I'm cooking for a number of people. So it's totally up to you as to the quantity that you make for your house or yourself. All right, so at this stage, I'm just adding a bit more water because I don't want a great big pot of soup. I only want enough liquid in there to boil these noodles and get them partially cooked. Again, lid on, bring it to the boil. Now with the eggs, I never ever crack eggs straight into a dish. Whether I'm cooking, baking, I don't care. I never crack them straight in because you never know if one of these eggs is bad and it can ruin a whole dish. So what I'll do is say if I've got 3, I'll crack them into a container first. And there we have it. We've got 3 eggs that are quite nice, and if one of them was bad, I've only ruined 3 eggs, not the entire meal. All right, we'll get this lid off. And while I'm stirring, I'm just separating those noodles. To this, I'm adding 2 sachets of the flavouring. Now it's totally up to you whether you use the beef flavoured 2-minute noodles, chicken flavoured, chicken and corn, vegetable, the choice is yours. In this case, I'm using the beef because we had beef on hand. Get that flavouring mixed in. So at this point, I'm going to add the soft vegetables. And that's just to heat them through because they're going to disintegrate, and more than likely, it's going to be like an orange puree in the dish. Now, if I had leftover peas and broccoli, I'd add them at this stage now, just so they don't go mushy and discolour. So while I'm bringing those orange vegetables up to heat, what I'm going to do is add more Tabasco. Totally your choice as to how hot you would like it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 splashes there. So I think that was 18 splashes of Tabasco for this amount for me. Okay, now what I really should point out is this noodle dish is not a wet, runny, soupy noodle dish. What I'm doing was I put liquid mainly to get these noodles boiling. Now I'm rapidly drying out the mix, reducing that liquid by just using heat and evaporating the liquid out, stirring it, making sure it doesn't catch on the bottom. Now this has been on a high heat the whole time. I've not turned down the heat at all. Look at the colour of those fresh homegrown eggs. Thank you very much, ladies. This egg is just a binding agent. It's going to stick to everything and make it sort of go claggy. And then what I like to do is then keep that cooking and let it catch on the bottom and almost get a crust and just keep on scraping it so you get some nice brown chewy pieces of egg and noodle and the other ingredients, and it's just fantastic. So we'll put that egg in. And we'll quickly mix that around so I can try and coat that egg in as much of that mix as possible. Scraping it off the side. As you can see, it's a very dry noodle mix. I don't want a soupy, runny noodle mix. That's not what I'm after at all. You can see that the egg has bound to everything and made it a claggy texture, which is just fantastic. It's what I'm looking for. Now what I'm doing is I'm leaving it in the pan under the high heat, just so some of that egg and the clagginess can stick and have a bit of a brown coating and a crunch to it, and it just adds a bit more texture. But you could quite easily take it out right now. Okay, so that's pretty much where I want it. So I'm going to turn off the heat now and serve it. Look, I'm the first person to admit this is not a pretty dish. You could try and jazz it up if you want and make it look pretty, but it's leftovers. It's one of these ones where it's the next night where, you know, you don't know what to do. Just throw some stuff in a pot and cook it up. That's what this is, but it's absolutely delicious. So there you have it. That's my 2-minute noodles with the leftover roast lamb. You can see the big chunks of lamb, the corn, there's still potato in there. You've got random bits of pumpkin and sweet potato and carrot in there. And as I said, this is a dry mix. It's not meant to be a soupy mix because we've got that egg in there, not only for flavor, but to bind it and give it the texture that it has. So anyway, we need to taste this. Here we go. It's fantastic. Oh boy. The burn is just right for me. Absolutely love it. The lamb is not overcooked at all. The lamb is actually tender, believe it or not. Absolutely love this. It's a favorite. It's such a good thing to do with leftover lamb roast. So obviously my verdict on this is Daz approves. Now, it doesn't look pretty. You could jazz it up if you like, but honestly, it's a leftovers meal and I wanted to make it the way I make it here and not pretend that it's some fancy exotic meal, because it's not. It's something we do as leftovers. We enjoy it, and I want to show you something that we make here ourselves, the way we make it, the genuine article. Do check out my other videos. It does help my channel a lot. Please consider a thumbs up, and bye for now.